Jimmy Butler, scoring only 8 points before leaving with knee inflammation. Jason Tatum only put up 10 of his own points. Boston now down 2-1 in this series. Shannon, this is your team. What happened to the Celtics Saturday night?
They came out flat, and that's the last thing I would have expected, Skip, the way they played the 2 nights ago, that got that big win on the road, took home court away from the Miami Heat. I expected them to come in front of their home crowd to consolidate that big win on the road. And what did they do? They come out flat. The thing that got them in trouble in game 1, Skip, they were in control. And what did they start doing in the third quarter? Turning the ball over. What did they start doing at the start of the game, this game? Turning the ball over. Skip, I know thieves that can't steal the ball as well as the Miami Heat stole the ball from the Boston Celtics. I don't know. You covered the game, followed the game a lot longer than I have. I've never seen a team steal the ball from another team like the Heat took the ball from the Boston Celtics. I've never seen that. Skip, I get it. Sometimes you go to these little league games and the kids just learning how to play basketball, and somebody's a little better, a little bit more talent. They just come and take the ball from the kid. That's kind of like what it looked like. 19 steals in a game, Skip. 19-2. 24 turnovers to 9. The Miami Heat attempted 22 more shots. And I'm like, really? It's almost like Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown in the third quarter is like, if he doesn't dribble, look at the ball and dribble it, he's trying to go behind his back. He's trying to split the double team by going between his legs. I'm like, bruh, that's unnecessary. And once you got that big lead, the crowd could really never get into the game until late in the ball game. Give the Miami Heat credit, because the Celtics cut it down to 1, and Strus comes back, Skip, late in the fourth quarter, and hit a 3 to put them up back by 4. Bam gets a layup in the 6th, and the game was basically over at that point. Skip, the thing about being a superstar is expectation and consistency. Far too many times, and I think this is why I have a hard time putting Jimmy Butler in the superstar category, because he'll give you 40 and then he'll give you 10. And we saw that from Jason Tatum, Skip. We keep seeing he has these monster games, and then he has a game like this where he gives you 10 points. He turns it over 6 times. I haven't labeled him a superstar. I said he's on the cusp of becoming a superstar, because we have expectations for Jason Tatum. And a lot of time, he meets those expectations. But the superstar, once you get to this level, the KDs, the LeBrons, and those guys, they're not giving you 40 and then turning around and giving you 10. They're not going to play like that. And that's what the hurdle, that's the last barrier. It's almost like the steeplechase, Skip. You know, in the steeplechase, you got to clear that last water barrier before you get to the finish line. This is the last barrier that Jason Tatum needs to clear in order to be that superstar. But Skip, I was thoroughly disappointed with how the Celtics started this ball game, and then they lose Jimmy Butler, and you still lose this ball game. Now, I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen tonight. They're gonna come out and beat the brakes off the Heat tonight. You know that, I know that. So, but I was very disappointed with how the Celtics played. You can't play a game after as well as you played, to steal home court, and for you to give it right back to them is unacceptable.
Okay, my turn. Allow me to frame just how shameful this loss was for your Boston Celtics. This was all-time. How in the name of Larry Joe Bird could you come up this small, especially in the second half of a game in which Jimmy Butler could not play? All I'd heard for the previous 48 hours from people I know, people texting me, NBA people, you're wrong about Miami. They can't score in the half court. It's Jimmy or bust. And I kept saying, no. They have the 6th man of the year in Tyler Hero. They have a Bam who has been an all-star who did average 19 and 10. And yet the disgrace here for Boston is that Jimmy Butler, for whatever reason, could not go with knee inflammation in the second half. And Tyler Hero might as well have not gone in the second half, because he was a disaster in this game. So my second scoring option goes 4 of 15 and 0 for 6 from 3. gets benched in the fourth quarter in favor of Oladipo, and Tyler Hero winds up down at the end of the bench with a big ice bag on his thigh, on his quad, because apparently he's got some kind of quad pull that is troubling him also. So Marcus Smart goes down. It looks serious. He turns his ankle completely over, and he's back in about a minute. Shades of Paul Pierce. And then next, your man Jason Tatum goes down, and I think he's going to the hospital. He's torn his shoulder completely apart, and he's back in about 3 minutes. So you got both your two guys back, and I don't have Jimmy Butler, and I don't even have Tyler Hero. And it's going to be Bam or bust, really, in the fourth quarter. And it was Bam. He made 4 or 5 shots in the fourth quarter. But now we get down to the reason that I picked the Heat to win it all this year. There's just something about the backbone of this team that starts with Pat Riley through Eric Spoelstra, through Udonis Haslem on down. And I loved what Kyle Lowry said after the game, and by the way, it was huge to have him back just in presence alone. The numbers don't scream like greatness, but just to have the head of the snake back to settle things down, to occasionally steal the ball was enormous, and I told you it would be on Friday. But Kyle Lowry said after the game, he says, Udonis always says, we all got it the hard way here. A lot of undrafted guys, a lot of low-round draft pick guys. We all found ways to make this our living and found out ways to do the job at a high level and to be here and to stay. That's big for us. Well, whatever that grit is, it led to glory on Saturday night in Boston because of what you said. They literally stole the game with 19 steals. Well, look at how spread out they were. I've got 4 players on this roster who had 4 steals in the game. That's impossibly great. Bam, who's two-time first-team all-defense, had 4 steals. Kyle Lowry had 4 steals. And Victor Oladipo came off the bench with 4 more steals. And P.J. Tucker had 3. I didn't even know if P.J. Tucker could play in this game because he had a knee bruise that was problematic. And I wasn't sure about half the roster playing in this game. And yet, I keep telling you, there are the Max Struses of the world, undrafted free agents once upon a time, who suddenly come up, and Strus, if we could see it, hit the biggest shot of the night with 2:16 left, just when I thought the ceiling had finally fallen in on the visiting team. Strus gets one, and they ran a play for him, and he just goes right up and shoots it, and it scrapes the ceiling on the way to swishing. And he said what he appreciated the most is that Kyle Lowry called it in the huddle. He said, let's run a pin down for Max. Seriously, a pin down for Max Strus? And he ran it, and Strus shot it like he meant it. And that put Miami back up 4, and it seemed to stem the tide, turn the tide back to the Heat. And the next thing I look up, they're up 9. Well, that was the ball game right there, thanks to a Max Strus. Well, that's just a gut shot. And it came down to Jason Tatum. In the end, I kept thinking, oh, surely he'll do. No, he won't. No, he won't. Surely he'll be better than 3 of 14 and 1 of 7 from 3. But no, he wasn't, because in the fourth quarter, it should have been Jason Tatum's game. And he went 0 for 2 in the fourth quarter, shot 1 free throw on a technical, and made the 1 free throw, and that was his 1 point in the fourth quarter. Well, superstar, I think not. And he's had, as you suggest, a fairly lengthy history in big games, big turnaround games, big playoff games, closeout-type games, in which he suddenly shrank and disappeared. I don't know why, but it's hard for me to elevate him till he consistently comes up as big as he did occasionally against Milwaukee. And this was his game. This had him written all over it. Yeah. And instead, I've told you this again and again, the guy I'm rooting, again, obviously, I'm rooting against Boston. The guy who scares me far more than Jason Tatum is Jaylen Brown. He is electric, and he plays with a passion and a conviction and a fury that I'd never see from Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown was out of his mind hot in the fourth quarter the other night, makes 5 of 6 shots, 2 of 3 threes, And he did everything in his power with 14 fourth-quarter points to get them back in charge of this game, and it was just a little too late. So in the end, I blame most of this on a Jason Tatum that everybody tells me is a superstar, and I am waiting and I am seeing.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. You're right. Jaylen Brown was sensational in the fourth quarter. But it was his 5 turnovers in the third quarter, which that wouldn't allow Boston to get any closer than what they were. He had 7 total turnovers. Jason Tatum had 6 total turnovers. Marcus Smart had 4. That's 17 of the 23 turnovers that they have between 3 guys. And your 2 main guys had 13. Skip, you don't need to be good in the half court if you're going to steal the ball 19 times because you're going to get some easy transition buckets. So I don't need to run a set because I'm going to be out on the break. I don't need to call a play when I'm out on the break. It's a 2-on-1. Hey, just give it up. Jaylen Brown made a sensational block to keep the ball, keep it close, but you can't, Skip. All Boston has to do, Udoka, all he has to do is show them. Guys, here's where we keep losing the ball game at right here. In the third quarter, game 1, turnover. Game 3, turnover. When we take care of the ball, I'm not saying we're going to make every shot, not going to make every free throw, we're not going to make every 2 or 3 point shot. But when we take care of the ball, we can blow this team out. I still believe Boston is the better team. But for whatever reason, they're not taking care of the basketball,